I was halfway through my second cup of coffee when my phone rang. Mom's name lit up the screen. Her voice was flat, almost rehearsed. "Jack, it's your father. He passed away this morning." The mug slipped in my hand, clinking hard against the table. "What? No. How?" "Heart attack," she said. No pause, no tremor. It was quick. My chest felt hollow. Dad and I weren't just close. We were partners in crime. Sunday morning breakfasts, fixing up his old truck, late night calls just to swap stories. And now, gone. Before I could get my bearings, she added, "We've already sorted most things out. There's nothing left in the estate." I blinked. "What do you mean nothing left?" "Hospital bills, debts, it's all gone," she said, like reading from a script. An awkward cough came from the background. Uncle Ron, then, right on cue, my cousin Dave's voice cut in from somewhere nearby. "Guess you'll have to keep punching that time clock, huh, Jack? No big inheritance for you." It wasn't even a good joke, but the way he laughed, smug and careless, made my jaw clench. I drove to Mom's that afternoon. The house smelled the same, but the air felt colder. Mom wouldn't meet my eyes, fussing with papers on the counter. Dave was leaning against the fridge, scrolling on his phone like he owned the place. "Where's Dad's will?" I asked. Uncle Ron didn't look up from his chair. "No point digging. It's all gone. Best to let it go." "That's not good enough," I said. Mom finally looked at me. "Jack, there's nothing more to discuss. Your father didn't leave anything for you to chase. Let it be." Her tone was final, almost relieved. Relieved. That's what it was. The smallest smile in her eyes that didn't belong there. The funeral was 2 days later. I went through the motions, shook hands, accepted condolences. But the whole time, that itch in the back of my mind grew. Something wasn't adding up. I took 3 days off work and started digging. Dad's old desk was still in the garage, drawers stuffed with files. Most were receipts, tax records, random notes in his messy handwriting, nothing concrete. I called the family lawyer, hoping for a crack in the story. He claimed he hadn't handled Dad's affairs in years, polite but distant, like he'd been told to keep it that way. Each dead end made the pit in my stomach deeper. On the fourth night, I sat in my apartment, stacks of folders and empty coffee cups around me. I still had no proof, no lead, nothing but the certainty that my family wasn't telling me the truth. I didn't realize it yet, but the trail I was on was about to lead me somewhere far bigger than I'd ever imagined. The knock came just after 8 the next morning, sharp, deliberate, like whoever was out there wasn't going away. I opened the door to a man in a tailored charcoal suit, crisp white shirt, and a look that said he didn't waste time. "Jack Turner?" he asked. "Yeah." He offered a firm handshake. "Kyle Brennan, I'm an attorney. Mind if I come in?" I stepped aside, still half running through whether I'd hired a lawyer recently. "What's this about?" Once he was inside, he set a slim leather briefcase on my coffee table, clicked it open, and pulled out a sealed envelope. "I'm the executor of your father's will, the real will." My pulse jumped. "Real will? You mean—" "The document currently on file with the court isn't legitimate," he said. "Your father drafted a new will just 3 weeks before he passed. This," he tapped the envelope, "is your copy." I took it, feeling the weight like it might burn through my hands. "Why am I only hearing about this now?" "It was kept confidential for legal reasons," Kyle said. "Your father anticipated there might be interference." I tore it open. Inside was a clean typed document with Dad's unmistakable signature at the bottom. Kyle walked me through it like a surgeon explaining an operation. "You've been left 35% of the estate," he said. "That includes a family property in Vermont, a portfolio of stock investments, and several valuable collectibles. Vintage watches, rare coins." I stared at the pages. "This doesn't make sense. I was told there was nothing left." Kyle's eyes hardened. "Because the will they filed was forged. The forged version disinherited you completely, redirecting most assets elsewhere. That's why you were told the estate was drained." My stomach nodded. "Who forged it?" "We're still gathering evidence," he said. "But there are strong indicators it was done by someone close to you. I have reason to believe certain family members may have committed fraud, which is a criminal offense." I let out a slow breath, every face from the past week flashing in my mind. Mom avoiding my eyes, Uncle Ron brushing me off, Dave making his little jokes. So this wasn't just about cutting me out. They broke the law to do it. Kyle nodded. If you want to challenge the forged will, you'll need to be ready for a fight. It won't just be about reclaiming assets. It could lead to criminal charges against your own family. I sank into the couch, the reality closing in. And if I don't? They keep everything your father intended for you, Kyle said simply. I set the will on the table, my hand resting on it like it might vanish if I looked away. The truth was finally cracking through the surface, but it felt heavier than I'd imagined, and I knew this was only the start. The day after Kyle left, I hit the ground running. If there was an original copy of Dad's will sitting in some file room, I was going to find it. I started at the courthouse, leaning on the counter while a clerk with thick glasses clicked around her computer. "Filed will for Turner, Raymond," I said, sliding my ID across. She typed, scrolled, then shook her head. "Only thing we've got is the version already on record, filed 2 days after his death." I kept my voice steady. "That version's forged. You have to have the original filing." Her eyes flicked up, then back to the screen. "Sir, if it's not here, it's not here." Hours of phone calls followed. Probate office, records department, even the lawyer my family claimed handled the paperwork. Every call hit the same wall. Either they couldn't locate the file, or the person who might know was conveniently out for the week. I left messages. None were returned. By day 3, I knew this wasn't coincidence. It was someone making sure the trail went cold. Meanwhile, my family was living like nothing happened. Dave posted a picture of himself grinning behind the wheel of a brand new Mercedes. The caption, "Work hard, play harder." Yeah, right. Mom texted me a single line. "We should let this go, Jack." No explanation, no conversation. Just the same brick wall she'd been putting up since day 1. That night, I dug back into Dad's old boxes. Wedged between 2 manila folders was something I'd never seen. A notarized bill of sale for our family's vintage car collection, signed over to R.L. Turner. Not me, not Dad, and not in the will Kyle had shown me. I pulled up a search on my phone. The buyer's name matched a Shell LLC registered in Vermont. And the listed agent? My uncle. The same uncle who wouldn't even look me in the eye at the funeral. I sat there, the paper trembling in my hand, and it all clicked. He'd been obsessed with those cars since I was a kid. This wasn't random. The next morning, I called Kyle. "I found something," I said. "Tell me," he replied, his voice sharpening. I laid it all out, the sale, the LLC, my uncle's connection. Kyle didn't interrupt, just scribbled notes. "That's not just shady," he said finally. "That's asset diversion. It ties directly into the forgery case." "So what now?" "Now," he said, "we dig harder, because your uncle's fingerprints might be all over more than just those cars." Hanging up, I knew one thing for sure. Whatever story my family had been selling me was about to fall apart, piece by piece. Kyle called me back the next afternoon. "I've got something you need to see," he said. His tone had none of the polite edge from before. It was heavier now, deliberate. We met in his office downtown. The place looked like a museum for expensive wood and glass, quiet enough that every word felt like it carried weight. He slid a thick folder across the desk. "Open it." Inside were copies of 2 wills, the forged one on record and the one my dad had actually signed. The difference was night and day. The fake will had clean but clearly traced signatures, a few sections clumsily reworded to cut me out completely. "This wasn't a lazy job," Kyle said. "It was deliberate. Whoever did this had help from someone who knew probate law." He pulled out another set of papers, emails. "These are from your uncle's account," he continued, "between him and a notary named George Latham. They discuss adjustments, expediting paperwork, and one line that pretty much says it all: Jack won't see a dime." I felt my jaw lock. "You're sure this is real?" Kyle nodded. "It came from a subpoena on Latham's business records. This isn't just shady bookkeeping. This is coordinated fraud." An hour later, I was standing on my uncle's porch. He opened the door, beer in hand, surprise flickering before he masked it. "Jack, didn't expect to see you." I held up the folder. "I know about the cars, and I know about the emails." His face drained, just for a second, before he leaned against the frame like he had nothing to hide. "You're jumping to conclusions. I just helped your dad handle some things before he passed." "By forging his will?" I shot back. "That's ridiculous," he said, voice rising. "I had no idea what that notary was doing. I was just cutting me out," I finished, selling off assets and making sure I couldn't fight back. He took a swig of beer, eyes darting away. You're twisting it. You don't understand how complicated this was. Your dad? I stepped closer. Don't talk about my dad. You used him, and you're going to answer for it. We stared each other down until he finally muttered, You don't have proof. Oh, I do, I said, turning to leave. And Kyle's already building the case. Back in Kyle's office, I told him exactly how it went down. You're not just fighting for money anymore, he said. This is about your father's name. We can take this to court, but once we do, it'll be public, and it won't be pretty. I sat back, the weight of it settling on me. I'll think about it. Kyle tapped the file. Think fast, because based on what I've seen, this estate is worth a hell of a lot more than you realize, and they're still hiding it. The next morning, I called Kyle. Do it, I said. File whatever you have to. I'm not backing off. By noon, the motion was in. Fraud, forgery, asset concealment, all of it laid out in black and white. Kyle moved like he'd been waiting for me to give the word. The hearing came fast. My family showed up looking like they'd been blindsided. Mom in a stiff blazer, Dave in some flashy watch he probably didn't pay for, and my uncle, jaw tight, avoiding my eyes. When the judge called us in, Kyle stood and laid the forged will right next to the real one. Your Honor, he said, the signatures alone are enough to warrant further investigation, but we also have email correspondence directly tying the defendant to the notary who falsified this document. I watched the color drain from my uncle's face. Halfway through, my phone buzzed in my pocket. Mom. I let it ring. A few minutes later, it buzzed again, then again. I finally checked during recess. Jack, please, stop this. It's not worth tearing the family apart. I typed back one line. They did that, not me. Back in court, Kyle tore through their story. Every hospital bill they claimed had eaten the estate, fake invoices, padded charges, and unexplained withdrawals. The judge's eyebrow climbed higher with every page. By the time we wrapped, the room felt like it had been wrung out. The judge leaned forward. Given the evidence, the court will grant a temporary order to freeze all assets in question until this matter is resolved. That was the first moment I felt control shift back into my hands. My family's eyes darted to each other like trapped animals. Dave muttered something under his breath, probably calculating how he'd make his next car payment without stolen funds. Outside the courtroom, Mom caught my arm. Jack, please, she said, voice low. We can fix this without dragging it out in public. I shook her off. You should have thought about that before you lied to my face. Kyle was already packing up, but he glanced at me. This is a win, but it's just the first round. They'll come at you harder now. He wasn't wrong. Later that night, I got a message from a mutual acquaintance, someone my uncle had done business with. The message was short, but it made my stomach knot. Your uncle's trying to cut a deal with a third party to move the frozen assets. Thought you should know. If they wanted a fight, they just made sure they were going to get one. 2 days after the court froze the assets, Dave called. Look, man, he started, voice dripping with fake casual. We don't have to keep this war going. I can get you a payout. Nice lump sum, and we all walk away. I leaned back in my chair. How much? 50 grand. He said it like he was offering me a sports car. I laughed once. You think that's going to make me forget my dad's will, the cars, the property, everything you people stole? It's not stealing if we work it out between us, he said. Better than dragging the family name through court. Not interested. I hung up. The next day, Mom showed up at my place unannounced. She walked in like she still had the right. This is tearing us apart, she said, her voice soft and rehearsed. We just want to be whole again. You're making this harder than it needs to be. I crossed my arms. You stood there and lied to my face when I asked about Dad's estate. Her eyes narrowed. I was protecting you from drama. No, I said. You were protecting yourselves from getting caught. By the end of the week, the tone shifted. My phone lit up with blocked numbers, voicemails laced with veiled threats. Better watch yourself. You don't know who you're messing with. One night, I found a note shoved under my apartment door. Drop the case or else. No signature. Just the kind of amateur intimidation that told me they were getting desperate. I took it straight to Kyle. He scanned it, jaw tightening. This is exactly why you can't give in. They're trying to shake you. I'm not backing down, I told him, and I meant it. He nodded. Good, because I've got a feeling this isn't over. They'll try something big next. That night, as I was locking up, I got a text from an unknown number. Your uncle's about to make his move. He's meeting someone tomorrow to fix the frozen assets. Thought you should know. No name, no details, but I didn't need them. The game had just shifted, and now I knew where to look. The courtroom was packed for the final hearing. I sat beside Kyle, eyes forward, not giving my family the satisfaction of a glance. The judge entered, and the room fell silent. Kyle stood first. Your Honor, today we present definitive proof that the will on file is a forgery. This isn't speculation. It's fact. He laid out the documents in a neat row. The forged will, the authentic one, and a set of enlarged signature comparisons. Then came the emails, the same ones tying my uncle directly to the notary, spelling out their plan like they thought no one would ever see it. The judge studied each page. Proceed, he said. Kyle didn't hold back. We also have bank records showing the sale of assets not listed in the forged will, all funneled through shell companies connected to the defendants. Murmurs spread through the gallery. My uncle shifted in his seat, his lawyer whispering frantically in his ear. Finally, he stood. I was misled, he said, hands up like he was the victim. I didn't know any of this was illegal. I trusted people I shouldn't have. Kyle cut in before the judge could respond. The emails suggest otherwise, Your Honor. They show Mr. Turner actively directing the alterations and demanding Jack Turner be removed entirely from the inheritance. The judge turned to my uncle. Do you deny sending these emails? He froze. I don't recall. That's enough, the judge said, voice firm. I didn't smirk, didn't lean back like I'd won already. I just sat there, watching the whole rotten facade crack under the weight of their lies. When both sides finished, the judge took a long moment before speaking. The court finds the original will valid and hereby reinstates it. Jack Turner is granted control over all listed estate assets. Any attempts to conceal or transfer said assets are subject to criminal prosecution. The gavel came down hard. Kyle leaned toward me. It's over. I stood, walked out without looking back. Behind me, I could hear my family arguing in low, panicked voices. But it was just noise now. That night, a courier knocked on my door. In his hands was a single envelope, my father's handwriting on the front. Inside was a short letter. Jack, if you're reading this, it means you fought for what's right. I'm proud of you. Always have been. Never let them take that from you. I read it twice, then set it on the table. The fight was over, but the wind felt different than I'd imagined. Quieter, heavier, and real.